Hello and welcome back to Theoretically Practical. This week we're going to try to get the hydraulic system in this machine back into good order. It's not that far off, but it really needs a couple of big items. First one is this filter housing. Oh, almost fell backwards. Right here. There's supposed to be a threaded rod to hold this cap down. There isn't. And to fix the problem, what they did is they glued it down and took the hydraulic filter out. So we're going to be taking this housing out, which is going to be a big deal. And then we're going to be going underneath the cab to somewhere down there and getting the power steering lines out. And finally, oh, almost died, but that's okay. See this black hose here? There's supposed to be a large hydraulic radiator there, and I have it, but it definitely leaks. So I'm going to clean that out, fix that leak, be just like the silver soldering video, but probably with brazing instead. And I also want to pressure wash the radiator. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's just dirty. It's just dirty. I don't want this thing to overheat and blow up on me. Be an awful stupid way to ruin a machine like this. So that's kind of the plan. And, you know, and probably in a week or two, I'll get that other, a better vacuum pump to make my vacuum distillation unit to clean out the oil. And then that should be it. The hydraulics should be a solid 79%, which is really the top of what you can do on a machine this age. So we'll get to it. I got to go into the under the floorboards. So that's always fun because it's really comfortable under the floorboards. And to start off, I have to disconnect the air brake valve. Now, I learned something from watching Andrew Camrata recently. He had a bunch of different hoses on a bulldozer, that was it, that he was working on. And he wanted to take them off but not forget where they were going. He used multicolored zip ties, and I thought, that is freaking genius, because I've been out here, I always like write on it with Sharpie or put a piece of tape on it or whatever, and all that serves to do is make me feel good until I get the parts back together and realize that none of my markings are still legible or even there at all. So let no one say I can't be taught a lesson once in a while. So that's the first start. I'm gonna put you guys up on the awesome camera stand and pull that apart, get that out, put that deck back down, and then I should be able to get down way down in that corner and pull out the hard lines for the power steering and take a look at them. So, or maybe just find out they're loose, but I gotta dig that out real good because it's just, it's bad under there. Okay, so those are the two hard lines there and there that were completely covered up before. This line is just gonna be where it wants to be, unfortunately, but I'm gonna start it up and we'll figure out which one of those lines is the culprit. I don't think it's leaking out of the fitting. We'll find out pretty quick. Well, now we know which hose it is, and as suspected, once I removed the dirt, the flow got worse. So I gotta go see where the other end of that attaches to, but I think what I'm gonna do is disconnect that clamp, and then I'm gonna leave the rubber hose on it and disconnect the rest of it up here where it's easy to get at. But first I gotta find out where the other end goes and how hard that's gonna be to disconnect. Overall, not terrible, but just so freaking awkward there. All right, well, I can't pull that frickin' line out, so I'm about to do something stupid. So I gotta record it. I think I'm just gonna rip the end of that hydraulic line off, but it's already ruined. I was gonna replace it anyways, so, and I checked and nothing's really stuck. I just can't pull enough to get it out. So we'll see if the mighty Nissan Versa can do the job. Don't mind the rattling. It's just got an enormous heat shield that all of the mounts are gone for it, but also it's too big to remove. That worked at all is just stupid. The only problem now is the other soft line on the end has a 90. It just keeps fetching up on stuff, so I just got to go feed it past various points. But that's not that bad. I might even be able to just rotate it. Absolutely. Huh. I know the side of this line was leaking. I cannot for the life of me find the spot. But whole thing's gonna get replaced with a flex line because I'm not gonna. Huh. So you guys won't even be able to see it. Might take a picture of it with my camera, but right there is a little pinhole. I don't know. That's the only thing that could be it in that section, and it's in the right spot, so maybe it rusted from the inside out or something. I don't know, but all I know is that I gotta go to the Napper, not a sponsor, and get a new line made up. There's definitely a little bit of pitting and corrosion on the bottom of this. Kind of wonder if I should pull the other one out and get another one, but you know what? I'll do that later once I've forgotten how to do it. Dyno part number 107938 D9 something. That's what it says on there. It doesn't matter because you can't get one anyways. So, and I've already put some kinks and bends in it. So, yeah, I wouldn't put a hard line. That just not gonna happen. So a soft line will snake its way through. It'll be just fine. We got it out with a car because that's hilarious. We got it out with the crappiest Nissan Versa in Maine. All right, well, I got the filter housing off. This is what the hose clamps you have taken off looks like. And the pipe in there, there's another one below the water line, or coolant line. Well, water line's fine for this one. And you have to loosen that up so you can rotate it, and then this whole housing has to turn around backwards to fit this flange out. I'll pop the top off in just a minute here and show you what's wrong with it. Okay, so this is the hydraulic filter housing for the Dynahoe. These look like just ends of an old filter that got crammed in the bottom of it. They kind of seem like the right size, so I might measure them, but they kind of fit fine on this side, I guess. And the bottom has like a little ring up there that you probably can't see. And then this pull rod, which is snapped clean off. So the most of the drama is definitely in this top part, because somebody welded and epoxied this pretty poorly. And the way it's supposed to work is you're supposed to unwind this, and this will spin, this part will stay still, and it'll just lift off the housing cover, because it is kind of hard to get on and off. Another neat feature is, if you can look inside of there, you see a twisted piece of metal right there. and it will spin when you push this plunger up and down. And that is that's the bypass plunger. And what that really is so that there's supposed to be an indicator right here that's also got all boogered up to let you know that the filter is plugged enough that it's bypassing. So it would be nice to have that work, but it's not going to. I think it's just gonna be something where people gotta just change it when they feel right. So bypassing, needs cleaning, and clean are the 3 settings. There was supposed to be like a dial here. I think that's actually a plastic, oh, that is a plastic cover. Oh, maybe that will be salvageable. So they also epoxied over top of that. So the first step I'm gonna do is just take an angle grinder and cut as much of that off as I can. And then what I suspect is there's a pin right there. And the other side of it's right there. And I suspect that pin is what holds that whole unit together. So that's gonna be my sort of first step is I'm gonna get this so that it spins and see if I can't knock that. I might try to knock the pin out first. I don't know, this might turn out to be one of those things where I really, really wish I didn't do it, but I don't see a good way to avoid doing it either, so. That pin came right out. It was very easy. I just used a drill bit and hammered on the point, which is stupid, but whatever, it worked. So let's try to clean this up. And I don't even know. Some days. That'll come out. Hey, there we go. So none of my cutting did anything at all. Nice. No high penetration welds right there. Just, at least I didn't hammer this up too bad. So I'm gonna guess they were leaking out of the top here. And instead of replacing a 15-cent O-ring, they said, oh, no, that's too expensive. That won't fix the leak. We gotta make this thing terrible. So, and then there is the end of that bolt that I need to get out. That's gonna be fun. First, I'm gonna get a wire wheel and clean this up a little bit. I don't know why it's so chunky. We're gonna see what's under the telltale. Maybe. Somebody put a line on it. Yeah, there's the line. So this was supposed to be clear. Just go right in there. So that'll actually work again. And then there's just a plug you have to put in for whatever reason. Man, somebody went through a lot of effort to avoid just getting out a old screw. But at least that works. All right, we're gonna weld it and keep welding nuts on it till we've got no more nuts to weld, basically. But I think this will come out pretty easily. I am using a TIG instead of a MIG. Most people seem to MIG it. I like the TIGs. I feel like I can put it right where I want it. So, don't want to have brake clean right next to you on the table while you're welding. Son of a... That's not even all of them. But I missed the money shot because it started to come and I wasn't about to let off at that point. So the other thing I did with this is I turned off this section here that was just all boogered up, and I'm going to put a couple of washers under it because that sits on this top surface here. And that, you know, a couple of washers will make this a lot better to put pressure on without ruining things. So I got to pick up a new O-ring for there. That's pretty chewed up, but I'm gonna ignore it for now, I think. So I think this will do just fine. But I'm waiting on the filter because I basically looked by size and went through and found a filter that wasn't like $200 and I could actually get, which is, there weren't many of them. So once I get the filter, my actual plan is to take this filter housing and probably, it might even work just as it is, but just if it doesn't, take out this bottom, because the bottom's just held in with these two side welds and these two plug welds, and put a new piece of threaded rod right there. Basically rebuild the filter housing to work with the specific filter that I've chosen. And what then I'll do is I'll stamp on the top of this with like letter stamps, and it's going to be a Wix filter, and it'll just be Wix and then the number, so that the next guy has, you know, a prayer of doing this, because I just can't find the right filter. I tried to join the Facebook group, but nobody's let me in yet. So, yeah. So anyways, this is pretty cool. Now that it's kind of clean, you can see the telltale. So that's that yellow arrow on there. So basically, I'm just pushing the bottom thing up and down. So as it goes, when it's clogged there, it says, you know, clean, needs cleaning, and then bypassing. So basically, this little guy here springs up, and there's a distance where it's lifted, but it's not really bypassing. And then once it gets up to that point where the oil's actually bypassing, that's when you'll see on the telltale. So I'm gonna cut a new piece of plexiglass, or try to put that on top of that. I don't even know if it needs it though. I might just leave it for now. But yeah, so that actually all works, and everything's gonna be, this is gonna be not factory, but it'll work as well as factory. So the next big problem with the hydraulics, I won't get the filter till Thursday. It's Tuesday today. So I can't do anything more with that today. But at least I got that frickin' piece of threaded rod out of there. Holy crap. The next thing is this big beautiful boy. And this is the hydraulic radiator. And this, I haven't seen it on there yet. I think the leak is somewhere down here, but you can tell somebody's brazed and boogered, and someone's been busy. So I don't know that this will come back around super great. It's not under pressure. So basically the oil comes in here, and there's a seam here. So there's split in half. So it comes up here, goes across, comes down there, and I don't know, it does something. I kind of looked into trying to get a replacement for this. I mean, even if you can find a hydraulic radiator this big, because this is like 24 by 30 inches, they're incredibly expensive. So I'm not going to do that. But because it's not under pressure, I can definitely get away with epoxy, because, you know, if it's the front side cracked or something like that, I can weld it. But back like an inch in, I mean, it's just not going to happen. All right, guys. Well, this is the point in the week where I backtrack my goals a little bit. My goal was originally to have the radiator, the hydraulic radiator, back in the machine, and the filter in the machine, and the new power steering line back in the machine. And it ain't gonna happen. I got the new power steering lines in the back of my car. That's easy enough to install, but without the filter, can't do much with it. So that's where it'll sit till this weekend sometime. But the radiator here, this is what it looked like before, and this is some of my attempts at repairing it. I was just TIG brazing over top of it, but I don't know what the hell somebody did or what kind of material this was or is. It should just be steel, but it's got a lot of, I don't know if you can see that crack there, that crack there. There's a little crack there. Basically, every time I weld it, it just keeps cracking. And I've even gone over sections and just remelted it and tried to get it to come good. It's not happening. So what the plan is here is I'm going to grind this down flush and just weld a plate over here and here on both sides, but the other side's just as bad. And then there is somewhere in this row a leak, but I can't actually find it. So my plan for that is to, you know, do the best job I can to figure out where it is, but then I'm going to clean this whole section up, and as well as, you know, with a brake cleaner, wire brushes, whatever I can fit in there and clean up with. And then I'm going to just coat that with JB Weld. I'd love it all to be weld and none of it to be JB Weld, but I can use my ear to find the hole, but I can't even necessarily see it, and I'm sure as hell ain't going to be able to take it up. So we're going to leave this behind, and we're going to focus on the filter housing and making it work with a readily available filter from Donaldson. This is actually came from the John Deere dealership. They had it in stock, which my goal for the filter is, if I can't get the original filters easily, like, it's got to be a filter you can just go get. What's the point otherwise? So Donaldson had a pretty good search engine by size, and there was nothing else even close. So I'll show you the part numbers. It's the John Deere part number is AT308569. I can read. And the Donaldson part number is P173207. The Donaldson search engine lets you cross-reference it back to manufacturer parts. So I found this, and then I figured out that it was for a John Deere like 790 excavator or something, which happens to be around 150 horsepower, so we're in the same horsepower range, and has about 120 gallon per minute flow. I'm not positive they don't have multiple of these filters, but as you'll see, it actually fits pretty well, and there wasn't a lot in the way of options. So one does what one must. So I'm gonna move this crap out of the way, and you know, I'm gonna put it away carefully and neatly and not just pile it somewhere else. But yeah, we'll get set up and I'll show you why I think this is actually a really good choice for a filter, and I'll modify the housing so that it fits perfectly, and we'll be back in action. Okay, so in finding this filter, the only dimensions you really get is a length and an outer diameter and an inner diameter. And I just went with, once you were in this length and you were in about a 4.5 inch diameter, which is the only thing under 5 inches they had, and this 5 inches won't fit in there, this is the choice. So there wasn't a whole lot going on. The thing that worked out just wonderfully is I had no idea what the dimensions of this lip were, but if you notice, it fits almost perfectly on the top of that. I mean, it just fits nice. So I don't want to lose the lip, because the lip will position it side to side, so it won't go anywhere. So now we're gonna take the bottom of the filter housing. Someone's been in here before. This is not the first rodeo this thing's been in here. So I gotta cut that out to get out the broken off pull rod. And I have a piece of 1/2-13 all thread right here that I already put a little top on like the other one had. So I'll cut that out, and then we'll come back and look at it and try to sort of assemble it a couple of times. I think I'm gonna have to modify the bottom a little bit, but let's get it out first, see what we got. All right. So that's what the bottom of this looks like. It's pretty simple. Oh, hey, look, there's a little piece of old filter there. That must have been doing a lot. Oh, oh, there we go. And another, just for good measure. Do we have 3? No. Yeah. Whole bunch of filter bits. Awesome. All right. Now, since the top lines up perfectly, I already kind of looked at it. I already know this is not going to line up as well. But I should have bought 2 of these filters so I could ruin one figuring it out, use the other. So it's hard for me to show this, but if you notice, this is the filter and this is the housing part, and they're exactly the same size, so one doesn't socket into the other in any convenient way. So if I try to tighten this up, it's just going to kind of wander around. So I'll figure out a way to deal with that. I'm not too concerned with the seal because, like, I don't know, it's not... If it's reasonably sealed and huge chunks of garbage don't go in the pumps, that's probably as good as you can hope for. That's a really soft edge. I have a stupid idea. I'm going to do it anyways. Don't worry, I'll regret it afterwards, if that makes you feel better. Now that's actually pretty damn good. I'm pleased with that. Yeah. Okay, well that was easy, no modification. So now it kind of sits in that seat real well. And so if you send it down the cylinder, you drop it down in and wiggle it, and yeah, it centers. So that end's good. The top end just sets in like that, and that's actually really well aligned, and it doesn't affect the telltale going up and down. So that's good too. I think I'm onto something. Onto something. I don't know, you decide. So my next step is just gonna be to, wow. I really hope this wasn't factory, because, I mean, just, of course, this is deader than yesterday's news. I don't know if that's a saying. It is now. I said it. If you look there, man, if that's what Rosean filters are doing, no wonder they're not in business anymore, or at least you can't find too much on them. So that'll be fine. So I'm gonna clean these up, because they're just, so they go back in the hole better. I'm gonna see if I have a 1/2-inch bolt. I'm gonna put it there, put the whole thing together, and then slide it down into the housing and line it up and just weld the bottoms like it was welded before. I don't know if I'll bother to plug weld it. I don't think it's all that necessary. You also gotta wonder if this wasn't like straight at one point in time. But I also gotta wonder if I care, and I think the answer is a good old solid no. It just doesn't seem warped enough either, so I'm gonna cut that apart. So I did have a 1/2-13 nut, though it is galvanized, so I should not be welding it, but I'm going to. I'm just gonna TIG-tack one spot of it though, so that it can kind of be, you know, oriented, because it's not gonna necessarily be dead center or straight pointing where it should go. And then once I have it the right length, I'm gonna mark it, cut it, and weld the crap out of it. This is just so that I can get the adjustment for the length of the filter correct. That's a little better. Oop. All right. Okay. Then we got this bad boy. No more. And because I guess I thought that it clamped on this face, so turning this face back wouldn't matter, but it does clamp on this face. So to bring it back to where it was supposed to be, a stack of 3 of these washers is really close. It's also nice because on the top of that housing, then the washers will be pushing and not a really narrow shoulder. So I'm kind of figuring out the maximum amount of threads I can stick up through this till it won't bottom out, and I'm going to back up a little bit. Okay, so now I got a top that it's the right height. I don't have a plexiglass window on this, but unless it leaks like a sieve, I'm going to ignore it. It's going to leak, but that's fine. I got a bottom in the right place. Everything's nice and tight, everything centers. And the best part is, I got a $40 filter that I can actually go out and buy at a place tomorrow. This is worth something, I think. So, all right, next step, I'm going to weld this whole thing up solid. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And weld the crap out of all of that, cut the end off, slap it down the tube, weld it in, and Bob's your uncle. And you can't see my face for any of this because now that you see it, you know. Cool. Well, I meant to film my crappy attempt at welding that, but now you can see the aftermath. It welded okay. There was just some oil in that and just, you know. But you know what? For what it is, it's fine. I'm going to zap it off right now, and then we will remount this inside the tube. I'm going to clean those up just so they're not quite as much of a hazard. This is actually going this direction, so it really doesn't matter. I just don't like how ugly those are. I probably won't do anything. I'll probably tell you guys I did and never show them again. Not that I've ever done that before. I would never do that to you guys. The other people that watch my channel, yes, but never to you. So anyways, yeah, that'll be that. And then we'll have a hydraulic filter in a hydraulic filter housing. What a novel idea for a piece of equipment that I don't want to die. Well, and this doesn't mean that I'm keeping the machine by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't want to sell it to somebody who then goes, oh yeah, I'll do that someday, and never does, and then the hydraulic pump goes, and then the machine is pretty much toast. Does that have any orientation? No, I don't care. All right, we're not. I felt like this would be a good view for you guys, but what a pain in the butt for me. You're welcome. Gently now. Okay, so now you've got the top right down to the line. You can look in here. You can see where your overflow would be. No, you can't, but it's there. So after pounding it in, the filter got compressed on the top. I did leave the top O-ring in, and I would say that's a good idea. It'll keep it from crushing. And now we're good and tight. Can I unloosen it? Yep. All right, so if I loosen it up, this thing becomes loose. The filter becomes loose. Good. Wiggle it around a little. Filter pops in place, clamp it down. And Robert is your mother's brother. Only thing left to do is to weld the bottom. Oh good, it's timed slightly differently, which is all I was really looking for. Okay, so this is what the bottom side looks like. There's the nut we just welded in place. I'm gonna put a beta weld, oh yeah, you can't see it all, right there, and then one right there, just across it. I'm not gonna do the plug weld. I think I can get in there well enough. I did clean it with non-chlorinated brake clean, and I'm gonna give it one more wipe, one more little clean before I weld it. And then that's it. I now have a filter with a filter housing and a reasonable filter to get. I don't know if the original filters are available, and you actually see I did clean that up enough so it's not gonna slice the crap out of me or the next guy. Yeah, I don't know how available the actual Dynahoe filters are. I know I can go to my local John Deere and get one of these, so that's the important thing. I showed the part numbers earlier in the video, and we'll have them down below as well. Maybe even a link to them if I can find a link that's reasonable to them. And you can see it is like an inch shorter than the old filter, but the old filter had a lot of stuff that was covering up, like the center. There was two pieces with a coupling. In fact, actually, we'll bring up the picture of the filter housing right now. There's a coupling in the middle there, and that was missing off of mine, and you got to keep it anyways, but it seems like it covers up an inch or two of the filter. So hopefully we have more filter media happening now, or more surface area anyways, and either we'll find out that the excavator had 2 or 3 of these, and be back to the drawing board after crying a little bit. All right, that's all welded up in there. I'm not going to touch it, but there you go. So, yeah, and realistically, that thing, if somebody was cranking on that, I don't even think you really need to weld the bottom of this in place. I don't know that it buys you all that much, but whatever. What's done is done. All right, we just got to reassemble it for the last time, this time. And to that end, we're going to use, the shaft of this where it's inside got really corroded over time. So I'm going to put a great big blob of silicone grease on there, because that should last quite a while. It might also help this seal a little better. And got a new O-ring. There we go. I'll wipe that crap off and grease it because I got crap on it, because of course I did. All right, so that's good. And I'm just gonna leave the plexiglass off and see if it leaks. I don't think it does, and it's really hard to see the telltale, and I think anything over that would cover it. So you might not even see, yeah, there you can see the little yellow arrow. So anyways, we'll put that in there. There we are. We're gonna put some silicone on this seal, which is the top seal. Again, I really didn't have a problem with it, so I'm inclined to reuse it at the moment because it's a square and I don't have any square rings. Also to put that on it. When you're greasing an O-ring, you should push. I'm releasing and I'm pushing the O-ring through. And you should do that because if you keep pulling around and it's an O-ring like this big or bigger, you can definitely stretch it right out. And that's not ideal. So, put that back in there. So, all right. And then the only thing left to go back in that is there's a pin right there that we took out in the beginning. Here it is. And that should go right in there. There we are. So now, this doesn't come out completely, which is what it's not supposed, it's supposed to do that. And we'll take the filter out too, just so you get the whole experience. So, you got your John Deere filter, where you've removed the O-ring from one end and just made that a lip. You've left the O-ring in the top end, so if it crushes it, it won't crush too far. That slides on in. This thing is vertical while you're doing it anyhow, so. And so you drop your filter in. Is it centered or not? Yeah, no, it's self-centered pretty good. Then you take your filter top, pop it down on. There we go. Close it up. Wow. Huh, that is tight. It's tighter than I kind of want it. Well, I just fiddled with it a little bit and got it working well. It just took a little bit of gentle-ish persuasion. That's tightened down good. Filter is going nowhere. And yeah, I think that'll work out fine. I am going to stamp with letters. I gotta do that at work tomorrow. I have a set of letters on the top of this filter housing, the John Deere and the Donaldson part number right on the top. So the next guy isn't screwed. But this is good. The handle I had for it was pretty bent and had a lot of crusties on it, so I'm not going to put it back on, especially since I think a wrench would be a better choice for this anyhow, and it's hexagonal. So that's it for this week of Theoretically Practical. I was supposed to get this in the machine. I was supposed to do a lot more things, but it just wasn't going to happen. But you know what? It will happen next week. So next week, we're going to work on the JCB a little bit, get the power steering working, because I think that's an easy fix. Might not be, but we'll at least we'll know. Got to get this reinstalled in the Dynahoe. I got my power steering line in the back of my car. That's going to go in the Dynahoe. And if I'm really ambitious, I will get the hydraulic chiller, whatever, radiator, I don't know. I'll get this big thing fixed and back in there, and we'll see if it really helps that much to maintain temperature. I think it'll help a lot. But hopefully I can get it so that it doesn't, leak like a stuck pig, because right now it would just be absolutely hammering out of there. So thanks for watching. Have a great week. If you made it this far, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me I'm an asshole. I don't really care. I mean, no, that's what I meant. Bye.